in Genesis, starting Genesis, well, includes this part in Genesis 32. Jacob has yet another vision. Jacob has some type of vision or dream or event every time he either leaves or comes into the land of Israel. So when he left home and he left the land of Israel, he had this vision of a staircase or a ladder climbing up into the heavens, and God somehow assures him that God will be with him and he will return to the land. Now he is returning after many years, and he has another dream or a vision or incident just before he meets up with his brother, whom he hasn't seen in a long time, but left on bad terms. We read, Jacob was left alone at all night. He sent everyone away. And a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. And when he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he wrenched Jacob's hip at its socket, so that the socket of his hip was strained as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking." But he answered, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Said the other, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." Said he, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed." Jacob asked, "Pray tell me your name." But he said, "You must not ask my name." And he took leave of him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, meaning, I have seen a divine being face to face. Panim el panim. Yet my life has been preserved. The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping on his hip. That is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the thigh muscle that is on the socket of the hip, since Jacob's hip socket was wrenched at the thigh muscle. So this week's Parsha contains the story of Jacob wrestling with some sort of being, actual or imaginary, human or divine. In addition to being the reason perhaps why you won't find any such thing as a kosher rump roast. They don't eat that part of the animal, it seems. But this is also the story at the center of the late Rabbi Arthur Waskow's book, God Wrestling. God Wrestling. Jacob's name is changed in this encounter to Yisrael. Ki sarita im anashim ve'elohim vetuchal. For you wrestled with humans and God, yet you prevailed. So Jacob's name becomes God Wrestler. And we, the children of Israel, are the children of God Wrestler. The implication is that grappling with issues of meaning is a primary way of relating to God or godliness. Grappling, struggling, seeking, wrestling, arguing. This is a description of religion built around the question rather than the answer. Built around the question rather than the answer. Some approaches to religious life, many that we hear about, are built around the answers. In many religious communities, for many people, religious life is built around tightly held doctrines and creeds, the answers to these large overarching questions. Upholding these doctrines is seen as the key to their personal well-being or personal salvation, questioning is very threatening and deeply discouraged. We hear that at times, people saying, I got kicked out of my religious community because I asked too many questions. Religion about the question rather than the answer. Religion built around the question is about seeking a way to expand understanding while still finding guidance for the moment. A major 20th century Jewish scholar, a Jewish, actually very traditional Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, once said, religious life is like chasing the horizon. You never get there, but you cover a lot of ground along the way. You never get there, but you cover a lot of ground along the way, like chasing the horizon. And several many understandings of Reconstructionism have been about the question. Several communities within the Reconstructionist world have been named because they are about the question. Mivakshe Derech, which was a Reconstructionist synagogue founded in Jerusalem, is one. Mivakshe Derech means seekers of the way. Dorshe Derech in Pittsburgh, the Reconstructionist congregation in Pittsburgh. It means also is another way of saying seekers of the way. And one modern Orthodox institution in Jerusalem, Pardes Institute, speaks of the Beit Midrash as a house of seeking rather than a house of study. And that's very much based on the meaning of the word. Just like Dorshe Derech means seekers of the way. Lidrosh literally means to seek meaning. So a Beit Midrash really does mean a house of seeking, even more than it would mean a house of study. But if all of our religious life is built around asking questions, then what do we anchor ourselves in now while we are seeking? How do we derive guidance in the present? And this has been an especially intriguing question for me in the work I do in the prison. It's been interesting and intriguing to think about how one might go about implementing religion built around questions in the context of a prison. So many people there, if they are seeking at all, if they're examining themselves at all, they are often seeking quicker answers. They often feel the need for immediate answers to deep existential questions of right and wrong, justice and compassion. And at times it feels very, very problematic sometimes to leave them to their judgment. They've had problems, many of them. And a lot of those problems are about judgment. Some of them, they feel they need answers. They need guidance. They often don't have the time, the energy, or the resources to sit with these questions. They have a deep need and hunger for guidance. And on top of it, most religion brought into the prison by the chaplains and volunteers who go into the prisons are also approaches to religion built around answers rather than questions. So many of the people who go into prisons to work with inmates or to share perspectives are going there because they're motivated by answers. They have the doctrines at hand that they want to share with people. It tends to be more conservative religious teachers and adherents who go into the prisons to counsel people there. I'm often asking, where are the progressives? Where are the progressives? And a simple observations, maybe oversimplified observation, progressives tend to be interested in the systemic problems, the systemic problems, the problem that the criminal justice system is a criminal legal system that doesn't really dispense justice all the time, whereas the conservatives are going there to meet individual after individual. But how then to teach religion, present religion, or religion are built around questions in a context like that? Because actually, I think religion that is built around questions is much more truthful, and religion that is built around having the answers can actually be very dangerous when you are so certain of your particular view, so certain that you want to impress it on others very deeply. So to expand on the image utilized by Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, which is religious life is like chasing the horizon. You never get there, but you cover a lot of ground along the way. If we are on a path that never ends, that's chasing the horizon, if we are always in a situation of seeking greater understanding and engaging in growth, then the one constant we do have to anchor ourselves in is how we are walking in the present. It's not about where the path ends, because we don't know where the path always ends, but it's about how we are walking, how we go about putting one foot in front of the other right now in the present. That is to say, how we are acting now, how we are conducting ourselves along the path now. The ritual and ethical choices we make now, even as we question, seek, change, and grow in our understanding of the larger picture. This is actually why I tell people, I do not observe the practices I observe because of everything I think I know. I observe the things I observe because of all I know I don't know. I observe what I observe not because of everything I think I know, but because of all that I know I don't know. The ritual practices I engage in remind me of the questions that I must never take for granted. And the ethical practices I engage in at the same time need to be grounded in an ethic of wholeness, harmony, integrity, shalom, which means fullness as well as peace. The way we act ethically must be grounded within relationship, within a type of covenantal relationship with the people around us, the creatures around us, the world around us. It must be a brit shalom, a covenant of peace, of wholeness, integrity, peace, justice, and compassion. And this is one reason why words such as we are studying every Shabbat just before the Baruch Hu, I think, become so important. That is to say, these are the things that have no defined measure, the corners of the field for the poor, the first fruit offerings showing up at times of community. So giving to the poor, tzedakah, participating in the community, performing acts of kindness, the study of Torah, honoring one's father and mother, establishing shalom between a person and another. Again, while the study of Torah equates to them all. These are all ways to ground ourselves in the present as we seek to understand the question.
What happened?
Questions.
I fell asleep.
So,
the chair.
an example finally, as we conclude, we're coming into Hanukkah. We're coming into Hanukkah, and we will be lighting Hanukkah candles in what is basically the darkest time of the year. And it is a reminder to us of the importance and the opportunity always to be a bearer of light into the world, to be a bearer of light in the world. How does light come into the world? Through you. How can you be a Hanukkah candle, even as you seek greater understanding beyond what you understand at this point? So keep on walking. We're walking towards the horizon. The path is always another adventure, an opportunity for growth. And as you walk, be a bearer of light. Be a Hanukkah candle in the midst of darkness. Shabbat Shalom.